Jake Thompson's phone buzzed on the kitchen counter, cutting through the quiet of his Chicago apartment. He ignored it first, focused on the blueprints spread across the table. As a 29-year-old architect, he thrived on deadlines, and this community center project was his biggest yet. But the buzzing persisted, insistent, like a warning. He glanced at the screen. Mia, Lauren's college friend, had posted a TikTok. Jake's fiancée, Lauren, hadn't texted him in 2 days, and his gut churned with unease. He tapped the notification, and his world collapsed. The video showed Lauren, his fiancée of 3 months, dancing in a Miami nightclub, her laughter bright under flashing lights. A man's arm was slung around her waist. Tyler, her college ex. The caption read, "Living her best life? #Miami Nights." Jake's coffee mug slipped from his hand, shattering on the tile floor. He replayed the video, hoping it was a mistake, but there was no denying it. Lauren's distinctive laugh, the sapphire engagement ring he'd given her glinting as she spun. 3 weeks before their wedding, and she was 1,200 miles away with another man. Jake's heart pounded as he scrolled through the comments. "Lauren and Tyler back at it," one read. "Pre-wedding vibes," said another. "The kicker, 1 week in Miami, then we own this city." A week. She'd be gone until just days before their rehearsal dinner. Jake's calls to her had gone unanswered for 48 hours. He'd contacted her sister, Emma, her parents, even hospitals, fearing she'd been hurt. And here she was, partying with her ex, while he'd been pacing their apartment, imagining car accidents or worse. 3 months ago, Jake had been on top of the world. He'd proposed to Lauren at a charity gala for the animal shelter where he volunteered, a place that showed his heart, always giving back, whether it was his time or his designs. Lauren, 28, a graphic designer with a quick smile, had been his partner for 3 years. When he dropped to one knee, holding the sapphire ring she'd once pointed out in a shop window, her eyes welled up. "Yes," she'd said, her voice breaking as the crowd cheered. They'd set a June wedding date, her dream of a summer ceremony coming true. Deposits were paid for the venue, a rooftop overlooking Lake Michigan, and the caterer, a local favorite. Everything was falling into place. But there were signs Jake had ignored. Lauren's past was a closed book. She'd dodged questions about her college years, especially about Tyler. "Just a fling," she'd said when Jake asked, her tone light, but her eyes distant. There was the time she'd vanished for a weekend with friends, returning with vague stories about catching up, or how she'd go silent during arguments, leaving Jake to stew for hours before reappearing like nothing happened. He'd brushed it off, telling himself she just needed space. Love had a way of blurring red flags. Now, staring at his phone, Jake's worry turned to a cold, sharp anger. He dialed Lauren, straight to voicemail. He texted, "Saw the video? Call me. Now." No response. He called Emma, Lauren's sister, who answered on the first ring. "Jake, I just saw Mia's story. I'm so sorry. I had no idea she was in Miami." Her voice was tight, guilty. "Did you know about Tyler?" Jake asked, his tone steady despite the storm inside. A pause. "Not about the trip," Emma said. "But there's something you should know. Tyler wasn't just a fling. They were engaged for a few months in college. She broke it off, said it was a mistake, but she never told you because she thought it didn't matter." The revelation hit like a punch. Engaged. For 3 years, Lauren had shared his bed, his life, his future, and never mentioned another proposal. Jake's mind raced back to their late-night talks, her deflections when he'd asked about her past. He'd trusted her completely, and she'd hidden a piece of herself. "Who else knew about this trip?" he asked Emma. "Mia planned it," she admitted. "She called it a last hurrah before the wedding. I didn't know Tyler would be there. I swear, Jake, I'd have told you." Emma's voice cracked, but Jake barely registered it. Mia, Lauren's wild friend from college, had always given him side-eye, dropping snide comments about Lauren settling down too young. Now it made sense. She'd orchestrated this, and Lauren had gone along. Jake hung up and scrolled through Mia's TikTok again. More videos. Lauren on a yacht, Tyler handing her a drink, Lauren laughing at a rooftop bar, Tyler's hand on her shoulder. Each clip twisted the knife deeper. He called his best friend, Matt, a family law attorney, and laid out the situation. "Jesus, Jake," Matt said, his voice low. "That's brutal. What do you need?" "Options," Jake replied. "The wedding, the accounts, the apartment. Everything's tangled up with her." Matt walked him through it. The ring was a conditional gift, returnable if the wedding was off. Most vendor deposits were non-refundable this close to the date. Their joint accounts could be secured. If you're thinking of canceling, Matt said, act fast. Some vendors might give partial refunds with enough notice. Jake didn't hesitate. I'm canceling it. The words felt final, like a door slamming shut. Matt didn't argue, just promised to help with the legal side. Jake's next call was to his bank. He explained the situation to an account manager, who helped him separate his personal accounts from the joint ones he shared with Lauren. New passwords, a freeze on major withdrawals, small steps, but they gave him control. By noon, he was on the phone with their wedding planner, Valerie, her voice professional but strained. So, Lauren's in Miami with her ex. 3 weeks before the wedding? She asked, confirming. Yes, Jake said. And I'm done. Can we cancel everything? Valerie sighed. You'll lose about 80% of the deposits, around $35,000. But there's another option. The venue might let you convert it into a different event, like a charity fundraiser. You get a tax write-off, and it could salvage something. Jake latched onto the idea. He'd volunteered at a children's hospital for years, reading to kids in the cancer ward. Turning his wedding into a fundraiser for them felt right, a way to take back the narrative. Make it happen, he told Valerie. I want it to benefit the Chicago Children's Hospital. She promised to start the calls. Jake hung up, his hands shaking but his resolve firm. He wasn't the guy who'd wait around for Lauren's excuses. Not anymore. That night, Jake sat alone in their apartment, the silence heavy. Lauren's things were everywhere. Her sketchbooks, her coffee mug with the chipped handle. He packed a small bag of essentials, knowing he couldn't stay. He called his brother, Ethan, who listened without judgment. Come stay with me, Ethan offered. We'll figure this out. Jake declined, but asked for help moving out that weekend. Lauren's gone until Sunday, he said. I want to be out before she's back. Ethan didn't hesitate. I'll bring the guys. We'll make it quick. As Jake lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, the TikTok video played in his mind on loop. Lauren's laughter, Tyler's arm, the comments cheering her on. But beneath the hurt, a plan was forming. He wouldn't lash out or beg. He'd take control, protect his future, and turn this betrayal into something meaningful. Lauren had made her choice. Now it was his turn. Jake Thompson's phone sat silent on the table, a stark contrast to the chaos in his mind. It was Wednesday, 4 days since he'd seen the TikTok video of his fiancée, Lauren, dancing with her ex, Tyler, in a Miami nightclub. 3 weeks until their wedding, and she was still 1,200 miles away, ignoring his calls. Jake, a 29-year-old architect in Chicago, had spent the last 48 hours securing his finances, consulting his lawyer friend Matt, and turning their wedding into a fundraiser for the Chicago Children's Hospital. But the hurt still burned, fueled by Lauren's secret past. She'd been engaged to Tyler in college, a fact she'd hidden for their entire 3-year relationship. Jake's brother, Ethan, arrived at the apartment that morning, coffee in hand. You look like hell, Ethan said, setting the cups down. Any word from her? Jake shook his head. Nothing since I texted her to call me. She's probably still partying. Ethan frowned. What's your next move? Jake leaned back in his chair, resolute. I'm moving out this weekend. I got a new place lined up, a 1-bedroom near Lincoln Park. I'm not waiting for her to come back and explain herself. Ethan nodded, impressed. That's cold, man. Smart but cold. Jake didn't smile. It's not about being cold. It's about respect. She doesn't get to disappear with her ex and expect me to wait around. The day passed in a blur of action. Jake met with his realtor to sign the lease for the new apartment, a smaller space with a view of the park that felt like a fresh start. He coordinated with movers to pack his belongings while Lauren was still in Miami, ensuring a clean break. Every step felt like reclaiming a piece of himself. At the office, his colleagues at the architecture firm noticed his focus. You okay, Jake? His boss asked during a project review. Just handling some personal stuff, Jake replied, keeping it vague. He threw himself into work, refining designs for a community center, finding solace in the precision of lines and angles. That evening, Lauren's sister, Emma, called again. Jake, I talked to Mom and Dad, she said, her voice tense. They're freaking out. They saw me as posts and can't believe Lauren's doing this. Jake's jaw tightened. Did they know about Tyler? That she was engaged to him? A pause. Dad did, Emma admitted. He thought it was ancient history, not worth mentioning. Mom's in the dark, though. She's devastated. Jake's stomach twisted. Another layer of deception. Thanks for telling me, he said, hanging up before Emma could plead Lauren's case. Jake scrolled through Mia's TikTok again, each new post a fresh stab. Lauren on a beach, Tyler tossing her a volleyball. Lauren at a rooftop bar, clinking glasses with Mia, while Tyler grinned nearby. The comments were relentless. Tyler and Lauren are goals. Wedding's off, huh? Jake's fingers hovered over the screen, tempted to comment, to call her out publicly. Instead, he closed the app. He wouldn't stoop to her level, but he needed answers. He texted Mia, "Why'd you invite Tyler? What's your game?" No reply, but the message showed as read. Thursday brought an unexpected visitor. Mia showed up at Jake's office, breezing past his assistant with her usual confidence. "We need to talk," she said, dropping into a chair across from his desk. Jake leaned back, arms crossed. "Start with why you planned a secret trip with Lauren's ex." Mia's eyes flicked away, then back. It wasn't secret. It was a bachelorette thing. Tyler just happened to be in Miami. Jake scoffed. "Bull. You invited him. Emma told me you organized everything." Mia's face flushed. "Okay, fine. I thought it'd be fun to get the old college crew together." Lauren was stressed about the wedding. She needed a break. Jake's voice was icy. "A break with her ex-fiancée? The one she never told me about?" Mia shifted uncomfortably. She said it was no big deal. "I didn't know she hadn't told you." Jake wasn't buying it. "You've never liked me, Mia. From day one, you've acted like Lauren's slumming it with me." "What?" Mia's bravado faltered. "That's not true. I thought she deserved one last adventure before settling down." The word settling stung, but Jake pressed on. "You wanted her with Tyler." "What?" Mia stood abruptly. "You're paranoid, Jake. Lauren's choices are her own." She left, but her defensiveness confirmed Jake's suspicions. This wasn't just a spontaneous trip. Mia had an agenda. That night, Jake called Matt again. "I need to know more about my legal standing," he said. "The apartment lease, the joint accounts, everything." Matt laid it out. The lease was in both their names, but Jake could break it with a penalty or negotiate with the landlord. The joint accounts were already secured, and the engagement ring was legally Jake's if the wedding was off. "You're doing the right thing," Matt said. "This isn't just about Miami. It's a pattern." Jake nodded, though Matt couldn't see it. "I know. I ignored it too long." Friday morning, Jake got a call from Valerie, the wedding planner. "Good news," she said. "The venue's on board with the fundraiser idea. They're waiving some fees since it's for the children's hospital. We've already sold a quarter of the tickets." Jake felt a spark of relief. "That's great. Keep me posted." He hung up, picturing the kids at the hospital he'd read to, their smiles despite their pain. This was bigger than his broken engagement. It was a chance to do good. By Saturday, Jake was packing. Ethan arrived with 2 friends and a rented truck. They worked fast, boxing up Jake's books, electronics, and clothes. Lauren's things, her sketchbooks, her favorite mug, stayed untouched, neatly organized for her return. "You sure about this?" Ethan asked, taping up a box. Jake nodded. "I can't live here anymore. Too many lies." They loaded the truck, and by evening, Jake was in his new apartment, a blank slate. He slept better than he had in days. Sunday morning, Jake woke to a text from Lauren, "Landing tonight. We need to talk." No apology, no explanation. Jake stared at the message, his anger now a steady resolve. He texted back, "Your stuff's packed. Wedding's off. Talk when you're ready to be honest." He hit send, then blocked her number. He wasn't ready to hear her excuses. Not yet. Lauren had made her choices, and Jake was done waiting for her to value him. He called Valerie to check on the fundraiser, then headed to the hospital to drop off flyers for the event. The kids' smiles grounded him, a reminder of what he was fighting for. As he walked back to his new apartment, the Chicago skyline sharp against the dusk, Jake felt lighter. Lauren's betrayal had cracked his world open, but he was rebuilding it, stronger, clearer, on his own terms. Whatever came next, he'd face it head-on. Jake Thompson stood in his new Chicago apartment, the skyline visible through the window as Sunday evening ticked closer to Lauren's return. It had been 6 days since he'd seen the TikTok video of his fiancée dancing with her ex, Tyler, in Miami, shattering their 3-year relationship just weeks before their wedding. Jake, a 29-year-old architect, had acted swiftly, securing his finances, moving out, and turning their wedding into a fundraiser for the Chicago Children's Hospital. But the sting of Lauren's lies, especially her secret college engagement to Tyler, lingered like an open wound. His phone buzzed with a text from Lauren at the airport. "Be home by 8. Please, let's talk." Jake didn't reply. He'd sent one message that morning, telling her the wedding was off and her things were packed. He wasn't sure what to expect when she walked through the door, but he was done with excuses. He poured a glass of water, steadied himself, and waited. The fundraiser plans were moving forward. Valerie, the wedding planner, had texted earlier that ticket sales were climbing and the venue was promoting the event. It felt like a small victory, turning betrayal into something meaningful. At 8:17 p.m., Jake heard the key in the lock. Lauren stepped into the apartment, her suitcase thudding to the floor. She froze, scanning the half-empty space. Jake's books, his laptop, his presents gone. Her eyes landed on the neatly stacked boxes labeled with her name. "Jake," she said, her voice cautious. "What's going on?" He stood, arms crossed. "You tell me, Lauren. You vanished for a week with Tyler. No call, no text, nothing. I had to find out from a TikTok video." Lauren's shoulders slumped, but her tone was defensive. "It was a bachelorette trip. I needed a break. You're blowing this out of proportion." Jake's voice stayed level, though his pulse raced. "A break with your ex-fiancée? The one you never told me about? That's not a trip, Lauren. That's a choice." Her eyes widened. "Who told you about that?" "Emma," Jake said. "And it should have been you. 3 years, and you hit an engagement. Then you run off with him 3 weeks before our wedding." Lauren stepped forward, hands raised. "It was college, Jake. A stupid 3-month thing. It didn't mean anything." Jake shook his head. "Then why hide it? Why go to Miami with him? Why ignore my calls while I'm calling hospitals, thinking you're hurt?" Her face flushed. "I was stressed. The wedding, the planning, it was too much. Mia said I deserved to have fun before." She trailed off. "Before what?" Jake pressed. "Before you're stuck with me?" Lauren winced. "That's not what I meant. It was just a trip. Nothing happened with Tyler." Jake pulled out his phone, showing her the TikTok video. Mia's post of Lauren laughing, Tyler's arm around her waist. "This doesn't look like nothing." Lauren's eyes darted to the screen, then away. "We were drunk. It was just dancing." Jake's voice hardened. "You didn't tell a soul where you were. You let Mia drag you into this, knowing Tyler would be there. You chose to stay, even after I begged you to come home." Lauren's voice rose. "You're acting like I cheated. I didn't. Ask Mia. Ask anyone." "I talked to Mia," Jake said, cutting her off. "She showed up at my office, spinning the same story. But she let it slip. She invited Tyler on purpose. She's got her own agenda, and you went along with it." Lauren's jaw dropped. "That's ridiculous. Mia's my friend." Jake leaned forward. "Is she? Because friends don't set you up to tank your engagement. She's been jealous of you forever, Lauren. She wanted you with Tyler, not me." Lauren shook her head, but doubt flickered in her eyes. "You're paranoid." Jake took a deep breath, steadying himself. "I canceled the wedding. Valerie's turning it into a fundraiser for the children's hospital. Your things are packed. You can stay with Emma tonight." Lauren's face crumpled. "You canceled our wedding? Without even talking to me?" Jake's voice was firm. "You didn't give me a choice. You lied, you disappeared, and you prioritized a week of partying over us. I'm done." Lauren sank onto the couch, tears spilling. "Jake, I love you. I messed up, okay? I should have told you about the trip, about Tyler. But I swear, nothing happened." Her tears tugged at him, the part that had loved her for 3 years, aching to believe her. But the trust was gone. "It's not about whether you slept with him," Jake said quietly. "It's about respect. You show me exactly how little I mean to you." Lauren sobbed, but Jake didn't move. "Your sister's expecting your call," he said. "You should go." Lauren stood, shaky. "This isn't over, Jake. We can fix this." He shook his head. "It's over for me." She grabbed her suitcase, made a call, presumably to Emma, and left, the door clicking shut behind her. Jake exhaled, the weight of the confrontation settling in. He called his brother, Ethan. "She's gone," he said. "How'd it go?" Ethan asked. "As expected. Denial, tears, no real answers." Ethan sighed. "You okay?" Jake paused. "Not yet, but I will be." Monday morning, Jake threw himself into work, finalizing designs for the community center. His boss clapped him on the shoulder. "You're killing it, Thompson." Jake nodded, grateful for the distraction. At lunch, he got a call from Valerie. "The fundraiser's gaining traction," she said. "We've sold half the tickets." The hospital's thrilled. Jake smiled faintly. "Good. Let's make it count." He spent the afternoon at the hospital, dropping off more flyers and reading to the kids in the cancer ward. Their resilience grounded him, a reminder of what mattered. That evening, an unexpected call came from Ben, a mutual friend who'd been in Miami. "Jake, I owe you an apology," Ben said. "I didn't know Mia kept the trip from you. She pitched it as a surprise for Lauren, but I saw her pushing Lauren and Tyler together. It wasn't innocent. Jake's grip tightened on the phone. Why didn't you say something? Ben hesitated. I thought Lauren would shut it down, but she didn't. She kept saying she needed one last adventure. I should have called you. Jake thanked him, the pieces falling into place. Mia's manipulation, Lauren's willingness, it all pointed to a deeper truth. Lauren wasn't ready for commitment, and Jake deserved better. By Tuesday, Jake was settling into his new apartment. He started therapy, recommended by Ethan, and his first session with Dr. Larson was blunt. She betrayed your trust, Dr. Larson said. But you're taking control. That's strength. Jake nodded, feeling the truth of it. He wasn't just surviving Lauren's betrayal. He was rebuilding, step by step, into a man who valued himself too much to settle. Jake Thompson woke to the hum of Chicago's morning traffic filtering through his new apartment's window. It had been a week since his confrontation with Lauren, his ex-fiancée, who'd returned from a secret Miami trip with her ex, Tyler, just 3 weeks before their planned wedding. The 29-year-old architect had canceled the wedding, moved out, and turned the event into a fundraiser for the Chicago Children's Hospital. Lauren's lies, her hidden college engagement to Tyler and her disappearance, had shattered their 3-year relationship. Now, Jake was piecing his life back together, but the aftermath was far from clean. Lauren didn't let go easily. Her texts came daily. I'm sorry, Jake. Let's talk. I messed up, but I love you. Jake left them unanswered, his resolve hardened by her betrayal. He packed her things, left them neatly boxed in their old apartment, and moved to a one-bedroom near Lincoln Park. The new space was a fresh start, free of her sketchbooks and coffee mugs. But her persistence wore on him. On Tuesday, she showed up at his office, slipping past the receptionist. Jake, please, she said, standing in his doorway. I know I hurt you, but I didn't cheat. It was a stupid trip. Jake stood, keeping his desk between them. You lied about Tyler. You vanished. You ignored me for days. That's not a mistake, Lauren. That's who you are. Her eyes welled up, but he didn't budge. Emma's expecting you to pick up your stuff, he said. Don't come here again. She left, head down, and Jake exhaled, shaking off the encounter to focus on his community center designs. His brother, Ethan, checked in that evening over beers at a local bar. She's still texting you? Ethan asked, cracking open a bottle. Jake nodded. Every day. I'm not responding. Ethan raised his beer. Good. You're stronger than I would have been. Jake shrugged. It's not strength. It's survival. I can't go back to someone who thinks disappearing with an ex is okay. Ethan leaned forward. What about the fundraiser? How's that going? Jake's face softened. Valerie says we're at 75% ticket sales. The hospital's promoting it. Feels like something good's coming out of this mess. Ethan grinned. That's you, man. Turning crap into gold. Wednesday brought a surprise. Mia, Lauren's friend who'd orchestrated the Miami trip, texted Jake. Can we meet? I owe you the truth. Against his better judgment, he agreed, meeting her at a coffee shop near his office. Mia looked nervous, her usual bravado gone. I screwed up, she said, stirring her latte. I invited Tyler to Miami because I've been into him since college. I thought if Lauren was with him, she'd leave you, and maybe... She trailed off, embarrassed. Jake's jaw tightened. So you used Lauren to get at Tyler? Mia nodded. It was selfish. I kept pushing them together, telling her you were controlling. She was stressed about the wedding, so she went along with it. But nothing happened between them, Jake. I swear. Jake leaned back, processing. Why tell me now? Mia sighed. Because Lauren's a wreck, and I feel guilty. I was wrong about you. You were good for her. Jake stood. Thanks for the honesty, but it doesn't change what she did. He left, Mia's confession clarifying one thing. Lauren's choices were her own, regardless of Mia's scheming. Jake threw himself into work and therapy. Dr. Larson, his therapist, was direct. You're grieving the life you thought you'd have, she said in their second session. But you're also building a new one. Focus on that. Jake took her advice, joining a hiking group to clear his head. The trails outside Chicago, with their quiet paths and open skies, gave him space to think. He started reconnecting with old friends, ones Lauren had subtly pushed away. Over dinner with his college buddy, Sam, he laughed for the first time in weeks, the weight of betrayal lifting slightly. Lauren's family kept calling. Her mother, Karen, left voicemails pleading for Jake to reconsider. She's young, Jake. She made a mistake. Her father, Tom, was blunter, showing up at Jake's new apartment unannounced. Son, I know she screwed up, Tom said, standing in the hallway. But you two had something real. Jake shook his head. Real relationships don't survive on lies. She had an engagement, Tom. Then she ran off with him. Tom sighed, defeated. I didn't know about the trip. I should have told you about Tyler years ago. Jake nodded. I appreciate that, but it's done. Tom left, and Jake felt a pang of sympathy, but not enough to waver. By Friday, the fundraiser was a week away. What would have been their wedding day? Valerie called with an update. We're sold out. The hospital's expecting over $50,000 raised. You're a hero, Jake. He smiled, a flicker of pride cutting through the pain. He visited the hospital that afternoon, reading to the kids in the cancer ward. One girl, Lily, hugged him tightly. Thanks for helping us, she said. Jake's throat tightened. This was why he'd done it. Not for revenge, but to make a difference. That night, Lauren texted again. I'm picking up my stuff tomorrow. Can we talk then? Jake replied. Emma will be there. I won't. He wasn't ready to face her again. The next day, he went hiking with his group, letting Emma handle Lauren's move out. When he returned, Emma called. She's a mess, Jake, she said. She knows she blew it. She left the ring on the counter. Jake pictured the sapphire ring, a symbol of a future that never was. Keep it, he told Emma. I don't want it. As the fundraiser approached, Jake felt a shift. Friends rallied around him, offering support without judgment. Sam invited him to a rock-climbing gym, something Jake had always wanted to try. The physical challenge grounded him, each grip a small victory. Lauren's text slowed, her pleas growing quieter. Jake didn't hate her, he just didn't trust her. And trust, he'd learned, was non-negotiable. Jake Thompson stood at the edge of the rooftop venue, the Chicago skyline glittering under the June evening sky. It was the night that should have been his wedding to Lauren, his ex-fiancée, whose secret trip to Miami with her ex, Tyler, had unraveled their 3-year relationship. Instead, the 29-year-old architect had transformed the event into a fundraiser for the Chicago Children's Hospital, raising over $50,000. 3 months after canceling the wedding, Jake had moved into a new apartment, started therapy, and joined a hiking group, rebuilding his life piece by piece. Lauren's betrayal, her hidden college engagement to Tyler, and her week-long disappearance still stung, but Jake was done letting it define him. The fundraiser was in full swing. Guests mingled, a jazz band played, and hospital staff shared stories of the kids who'd benefit from the donations. Jake's brother, Ethan, clapped him on the shoulder. You pulled this off, man. Look at this crowd. Jake nodded, a quiet pride settling in. It's not about me. It's for the kids. He'd spent the morning at the hospital, reading to Lily, a young patient who'd hugged him and said, You are like a superhero. Her words carried him through the night, a reminder of why he'd turned pain into purpose. Lauren's text had stopped a month ago, after she'd moved her things out with her sister Emma's help. Jake had heard she'd taken a job in Seattle, a fresh start. He didn't wish her ill, just distance. Therapy with Dr. Larson had helped him see the pattern. Lauren's impulsiveness, her secrecy, his own willingness to ignore red flags for love. You're learning to value yourself, Dr. Larson had said in their last session. That's the real win. Jake felt it now, standing tall, surrounded by friends and colleagues who'd rally behind him. A new presence in his life helped too. Sophie, a 28-year-old teacher he'd met at a hiking group, had become a steady companion. Unlike Lauren, Sophie was open, her honesty refreshing. They'd bonded over shared trails and easy conversations, and tonight, she was his plus one. She approached with 2 drinks, handing him one. This is incredible, Jake, she said, gesturing to the crowd. You turned something awful into something beautiful. Jake smiled, her words warming him. Couldn't have done it without people like you. The night wasn't without tension. Jake's phone buzzed with a call from Emma. I'm getting married next month, she said. I want you there. You were family for 3 years. Jake hesitated. Lauren would be at the wedding, and he wasn't sure he was ready to face her. But Sophie squeezed his hand. You've moved on, she said later, when he told her about the invite. Go, show yourself you're past it. Jake agreed, RSVPing with a +1. He wasn't hiding anymore. Emma's wedding came on a crisp July day. Jake and Sophie arrived at the venue, a small church outside Chicago. Lauren was there, a bridesmaid, standing at the altar. Their eyes met briefly as Jake took his seat, her gaze heavy with something unspoken. He nodded politely, then turned to Sophie, who laced her fingers through his. The ceremony was simple, joyful, and Jake felt a pang. Not for Lauren, but for the life he'd once imagined. At the reception, he and Sophie danced, laughed, and mingled, her presence grounding him. Lauren approached during a slow song, while Sophie was at the bar. "Jake," she said, her voice soft. "Can we talk?" He nodded, stepping to a quiet corner. She looked different, calmer, her usual spark dimmed. "I owe you a real apology," she said. "Miami was a mistake. I was selfish, scared of the wedding, and I let Mia's influence cloud my judgment. Nothing happened with Tyler, but I broke your trust. I'm sorry." Jake studied her, searching for the manipulation he'd once expected. But her words felt genuine, stripped of excuses. "Thank you," he said. "I needed to hear that." "Are you happy?" she asked, glancing at Sophie. "I am," Jake said, surprised by how true it felt. "Sophie's good for me. She's honest." Lauren nodded, a small smile forming. "I'm trying to be better. I moved to Seattle, got a new job. I'm seeing someone, Alex. He's patient, calls me out when I need it." Jake nodded. "I'm glad. You deserve a fresh start." They stood in silence, the weight of their shared past lifting slightly. "For what it's worth," Lauren said, "canceling the wedding was the right call. I wasn't ready. We would have hurt each other more." Jake agreed, a lump in his throat. "Take care, Lauren." "You too," she said, and slipped back into the crowd. Sophie returned, handing him a drink. "Everything okay?" she asked, her eyes kind but searching. Jake squeezed her hand. "Yeah, just closing a chapter." They danced again, and for the first time in months, Jake felt unburdened. Lauren's apology hadn't erased the pain, but it gave him closure. He wasn't the man who'd proposed to her, blind to her flaws. He was stronger, clearer, unwilling to settle for less than he deserved. In the weeks that followed, Jake's life took shape. His community center project earned him a promotion, making him the youngest senior project manager at his firm. He and Sophie grew closer, planning a hiking trip to Colorado. The fundraiser's success led to a volunteer role at the hospital, where he read to kids weekly. Lily, now in remission, drew him a picture of a superhero with his name on it, which he kept on his desk. Lauren faded from his life. Mutual friends shared updates. She was settling into Seattle, working on herself. Jake didn't dwell on it. He'd learned to trust his instincts, to demand respect, to build a life that reflected his values. Sophie, with her quiet strength, was part of that now. As they hiked a trail one weekend, she turned to him, grinning. "You're pretty great, you know that?" Jake laughed, pulling her close. "You're not so bad yourself." Looking back, Jake saw the Miami betrayal as a turning point. It had broken him, but it also freed him. The fundraiser, the new apartment, Sophie, they were proof that the worst moments could lead to the best beginnings. He turned Lauren's choices into his own victory, not through vengeance, but through living authentically. The man he'd become was one he was proud of, and that was enough.